Welcome back to the Artie Lange Show. We have some of the media elite in here. My co-host Chris Mannix is one of them, Sports Illustrated, and here joining us for this segment, Drew Magary from Deadspin and Gawker. And when I hear that, I get scared, man.
I know this is a fancy show because you have triangles around the show, around the right microphone that say Artie Lange Show.
What are they called?
You have a logo.
There's something.
Mic flags.
Mic flag.
Yeah. You have a mic flag.
A mic flag.
It's very official looking. It's like you and Al Qaeda. Like you both have this.
Anybody could get them, by the way. I think they cost about $8.
But few people put in the effort to get them.
No, you're right. You're right. That wasn't my call. I think the guys did that on their own. But thanks, guys.
That's right.
It is impressive.
You don't see a lot of guys with podcasts with the
No.
mic flag.
That's what we want to. We want to set ourselves aside from the podcast.
You don't see the Joe podcast.
Is that what does it?
Mic flag being shoved in like A-Rod's face.
No.
Joe's podcast here.
Unfortunately, every comedian on the planet has a podcast now. So I'm trying to. I'm trying to separate myself from those
Your
boobs.
couple there, man. Your couple has a podcast there.
That's right. Yeah.
Bonnie, yeah.
Well, they're very funny. I'm talking about every other guy.
all the other losers.
I'm not talking about them.
Speaking about funny though, Drew wrote a book. Someone Could Get Hurt.
Yes.
That's the name of your book. Now, I was leafing through this. Hilarious.
Thank you, sir.
It's about growing up, really, right? It's about life in the family, the American family.
Yes, about raising my kids. And in general, most of these books are really terrible. So we did our best to write one that was as good as this genre could be. Because usually when people talk about their kids, you start to tune out. You're like, oh, my God, the kid. Oh, I hate you. But, we try to get to the point where it's like if Bill Cosby and Louis C.K. talk about their kids, there's some sort of universality that you try to get through to it and have the best.
Well, it's when interesting people talk about anything. You're saying Bill Cosby and Louis C.K. are two interesting people. They could talk about anything.
That's right. And
you seem like an interesting guy.
And that was me just leeching off of them, just shamelessly, horribly, with no credentials whatsoever.
Well, when people say that, well, Bill Cosby thought or Louis C.K., what you're saying is they're interesting people, and you're interesting.
Of course.
So,
thank you.
You are. And some of the subjects you cover, and I want to get into these one by one, spankings.
Yes, spankings.
Right above racism, by the way.
Yeah.
But how do you feel about spankings?
Well,
and is it linked to racism?
No, I have spanked my kids, and you feel like a complete idiot. I mean, you feel stupid when you're doing it because when you're spanking the kid, all you can think about is the alternate porn scene where the porn actor is spanking the girl on the butt, and he's like, "Yeah, you like that?" And you're like, what am I doing? Like, I'm setting them up for 20 years from now. They're not going to be spanked by me. They're going to be spanked by T.T. Boy. It's disgusting.
By Lexington Steel.
Yeah, and you're like, how did this come to be? Like, how was spanking the de rigueur punishment for children? It makes no sense.
The what punishment? De rigueur?
The go-to punishment.
Is that
for
French?
I don't know. I just made it up.
That was excellent. Did you make that up? Because that was fantastic.
Sure. Why not?
Okay, spanking. No, I agree with you. Spankings, you might be creating a porn star if you spank a kid too much. Right?
I think so.
Yeah.
It's terrifying.
That's what you're saying.
So I will not do it again. No, thank you.
What about racism? How do you feel about that?
I'm not a big fan of racism.
How do you keep your kids from being racist?
Well, the racism was we went to we took our kids to I have a kid do a ballet class. In the ballet class they did a recital of Pocahontas, the Disney princess, and the teacher was like the Indian chief, and she was a white woman. So she didn't say the nickname of the kids were Redskins, but she was like, oh, I hear the Paleskins coming. And we were like, Paleskins? Is that racist? Can you say Paleskins?
It's reverse racist.
Is it reverse racist if a white person is pretending to be an Indian saying Paleskins? We don't know. And then all the kids went, and we were like, I don't know. I think that's out of date now.
That is, yeah.
I don't think that's allowed anymore.
I play a lot of Indian casinos. I do stand-up at Indian casinos, and you have to meet the tribe afterwards, and no one does that anymore.
Yeah, you cannot go, that's bad.
Were all the kids, they still do that?
Yeah, they still teach the kids. They still teach the kids about Thanksgiving, like, that were like, okay, well, Squanto planted corn and dead fish in the ground, and everybody was happy. like, okay, that works.
Squanto?
They still teach it. They still teach the things that they have to unteach like 6 years later.
Yeah.
Like in sixth grade, we're like, hey, guess what? You know what? We actually slaughtered all of them.
Yeah, really.
They're all dead.
Why don't we just start out with that?
Start with the real version.
Really?
Don't be like, don't just go.
But you can't. It's so ingrained. The whole system of, okay, we have to make sure that they get the nice version first before we tell them the horrible smallpox blanket version 5 years later.
Put the propaganda out there first. And then
See, but you guys are younger. My generation, I'm 45. I didn't hear about the slaughtering until I was like 22.
Yeah.
You guys
didn't hear about it until just now.
Actually, I was like, what? What happened? But I just
you were playing an Indian reservation at the time. They're like, wait, what happened here? What is going on here?
I didn't know that.
I just love the name Squanto.
I didn't know that, Chief Mohegan Sun.
Squanto painted.
Chief Mohegan Sun.
Squanto planted seeds. Shocking arrests. What does that mean?
In the book, I documented the time I was arrested for DUI 3 years ago.
That's not shocking.
I know. For you, you're like, DUI? What? That's child's play.
Shocking arrest. Like this guy on the cover of the Daily News, he's a cop who might be a cannibal. That's a shocking arrest.
That is a shocking arrest.
A DUI. I mean, come on, man.
I know. It's kiddie play. I'm sorry. I apologize for not having a more shocking
Don't you think
arrest.
racism can be funny sometimes? I know you're against it. As a blanket, I'm against it too. But there are some funny racist jokes that I feel when you shape a sense of humor, some kids should know about those jokes.
Well, don't you think, like, in terms of, like, Seth MacFarlane at the Oscars, don't you think that people are having a hard time distinguishing between, hey, that's racist, and racial humor?
Right.
Like,
Yeah, what does that mean? What is the distinction?
Like, people are dumping on MacFarlane saying, okay, he's sexist, his routine was sexist, and he's not. He's clearly...
These are the people that they're not really indignant. They just want to be indignant.
Well, that's the thing. I think there's this rush to be offended, but there's also this rush to be the first person who sees this angle of, okay, well, we see your boobs. Oh, okay. He mentioned Jodie Foster in The Accused, so that's totally inappropriate. So let's take this and let's inflate that, and let's put more meaning into it than MacFarlane ever put into it.
Right. Right. I think MacFarlane is smart enough to know that people are going to talk about it, and he's not really that way, and everything's fine. His biggest problem is he comes off like a jerk off. I mean, that's a guy. That's a guy who just want to hit with a bat in the face.
Yes,
he's a funny, talented guy, but he's so snarky. You really want to strangle the guy. He's hateable, but I mean, very successful, talented guy, and they're not racist. It's so. I hate when it's an insult to racists to call him racist because he's so planned out. It's so like navigated and mapped out what he's going to do there.
Well,
and he wants people to say that because then he can mock on them for saying it.
Well, it's like save it for the real racism.
Right.
Like save it for that real time where like the real racism comes out. Like when Pat Robertson says something like go full bore. Like just get out both M60s and just go hard.
Well, I have a thing we're going to do on the show. It's called Great Moments in Racism, and it's going to cover all types of it. Reverse racism, regular racism, my favorite, and it's going to be Al Campanis in the Dodgers. Remember that guy, the GM for the Dodgers?
Of course.
A lot of Charles Barkley stuff. He had some great stuff, and a lot of stuff from the cartoons, the old Bugs Bunny cartoons, with the porters picking up. As we're going to go through this, and you're right. Save it for the real racial humor, real racist moments. That's what MacFarlane takes away from more than anything else. You didn't like the Oscars. You didn't like did you not like them as a whole?
Like when I was a kid, I don't know about you, but like I don't know. I used to be like a movie kid when I was like 15 years old and stuff like that. And you watch the Oscars and you're like, hey, it could be me up there one day and I'd be giving a speech and everybody would love me. And that stupid wet dream where you're like, everybody and we're all partying and eating canapes at the Swifty Lazar party and all that, all that stupid idiotic stuff. And like now, like I feel like if you're old enough, you get that it's sort of stupid and arbitrary, and it's almost cooler if your favorite movie doesn't win. And, it's like this is a badge of honor. I don't know. And plus, they expanded the category and all that stuff of Best Picture, so it's like
9 nominees.
Yeah,
what do you have to do not to get nominated for Best Picture?
Best Picture.
It's like hockey.
Best Picture.
It's like hockey now.
Movie 43, you're Best Picture too. Why not?
Everybody makes the playoffs. It's horrible.
Yeah.
I think when we were kids, it had. Well, how old are you?
I'm 36.
Okay, so when we were kids, I'm 45. It's about the same.
You're so you're not the same. You're ancient. You're so old.
I got a good 9 years on you. But that's a big decade though. But it did seem like it had more prestige because you didn't see that much of it. Like it was literally on once. You had to be in front of the TV.
Yeah.
And see Johnny Carson say "Welcome to the Oscars" once a year. You could see it. Now you just could see anything, anytime.
And nobody broke it down the day afterward.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like its authority was absolute. And now, like after something like Argo wins, there are 50,000 posts the next day telling you exactly why Argo did not deserve to win.
Right.
And then all of a sudden you think that this award is stupid and arbitrary, which it always was, but just now you are more exposed to the reasons why it happens to be stupid and arbitrary and pointless.
Yeah, they make such a big deal about the thing being so long. Look, then just make it literally 5 awards. Give Best Picture, Director, and the Acting Awards.
Yeah.
That's it, and the writing. That's it. Forget the documentary. Forget sound editing. Forget it completely, and let these guys do their song and dance, and let them have long speeches.
Well, that's what the Golden Globes are now.
Yeah, really. I mean, exactly. Just make it that.
They get the Best TV Awards and they get Best Movie Awards, and then that's why they lure like Tina and Amy to do it, and that's why everybody.
Do you know them personally?
Oh yeah, I know. I just said Tina and Amy like a douchebag.
Everybody says that.
They're my best friends. Yeah. I know them personally.
I've met both of them, and I kind of know them personally. I'm not even comfortable saying Tina.
Surely you know Mel and Julia and Bobby De Niro.
Mel.
The way that I know them.
How about this heroin babies? I took this is an actual subject covered in your book, Heroin Babies.
My third child was in the NICU for a month, and one of the neighbor babies was a heroin baby.
Now, what does that mean?
It was a baby that was addicted to heroin because the mother was addicted to heroin.
I don't know. He was capable.
It's good parenting.
I know that was possible with crack. I don't know. It makes sense. It's possible with heroin.
Yes,
right?
it's with any intravenous drug, essentially.
Yeah.
If you're addicted to it, it's in your bloodstream. And,
so what was that like? Oh God.
Well, I mean, it was more unpleasant for the heroin baby than it was for me because my response was, "Oh my God, a heroin baby!"
Right.
And the heroin baby's response was, "I'm a heroin baby." So,
yeah, but you can't remember anything when you're a baby.
No, you can't remember anything when you're a baby. So, but the mother was 16 years old, and it was not her first child. So
of course not.
No, of course not.
She's a heroin mommy.
No, she's a heroin mommy. She's a veteran of the heroin babying process. So
right.
it was a very
Mother of the Year.
But it was one of those things where it's one of those things that you hear about, but when you're right next to it, it becomes a lot more pronounced, particularly when you have a child of your own in danger.
But you were afraid because your kid was next to the kid?
No, I mean, but
catch heroin.
Both the kids were in a high-risk unit. Both of them were essentially attached to the monitors, where if they were taken off the monitors, they would pass away. Yeah. So, you transfer that sort of concern onto your own child, and you become a lot more empathetic.
Right.
I guess it would be.
Brutal darkness that you see working in You imagine how jaded you become if you're a cop or you get jaded working in show business. Try being a cop for about 2 weeks.
Yeah.
See what these guys think. When you hear about someone blowing themselves up, like cops go there and clean that up,